would you say was the best, worst thing that ever happened? Meaning, was the worst thing at the time you think could have ever occurred? Like, you thought it was life-shattering, but ended up, in retrospect, the best thing that could have happened?
I hit the crossroads of my life 10 or 11 years old, because most people do in their 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever. But when I was a young kid, elementary school, had a tough time reading, couldn't spell to save my life, still can't spell. Thank God for spell check. But I was struggling a little bit in school, really good in math, sciences, and all that stuff, but I was struggling a little bit, so they tested me and all that stuff, found out that I just had some sort of a learning disability as far as that's concerned. I remember when I was in 4th, 5th grade, 5th grade is when they started moving me out of this class, and hey, we're going to send you down the hall to this other classroom. I just remember thinking to myself that, man, all these kids in here just think I'm some dummy, you know, that kind of stuff. But my all-time favorite teacher, God bless her, she's a saint, Nancy Ferran is her name. She had a small class of kids that needed a little extra help. Best learning experience that I ever had was from her. She sat me down, she said, here's the deal. It's going to be harder for you, it's going to take you longer, it's going to take you more effort, but you can achieve anything you want to. You're just going to have to work harder. So I sat there and I said, it's probably the competitive nature that I have, and I have an older brother that we always competed in sports and stuff, and so I was always trying to be as good as him, be better than him, you know. So I remember at that point just going, hey, you know what? I'm not going to let these other people in the other classroom think that I'm going to work harder. I'm going to do better. I'm going to get good grades. Graduated high school in honors and won some GPA because I took some, you know, other classes, got accepted to the military academies. Did a bunch of, you know, graduated college with an exercise physiology degree and all my pre-med prerequisites and a chemistry minor and all that stuff because I wanted to go to medical school if football didn't work out for me. So the best, worst thing made it a hell of a lot harder for me, but I think it taught me a good work ethic. So I think that helped me early to realize, now I still played my sports and all that stuff, but when I came home from football practice or soccer practice, whatever, ate dinner straight upstairs. And my mom got to a point where she's like, you know, I'm worried about the fact that he's not
living a normal boy type of thing.
Correct. But that helped me so much when I went to college, and I'm studying, you know, to try to get good grades. I'm not going out on Friday nights or Saturday after a football game doing the normal partying thing. Don't get me wrong, I had tons of fun in college and had good friends and girlfriends, so I lived a normal college lifestyle, but I learned my priorities earlier, and I studied, worked my ass off, and I honestly think that the lessons I learned in 5th, 6th, 7th grade still carry over true now, that if you want something, you work your ass off for it. Don't let anybody tell you can't do it, because you can. The struggle was real for me, you know. I remember I moved to Virginia right after college trying to get my shot in the league. I had a contract from the Canadian Football League that I decided not to take because I wanted to play in the NFL, and the Dallas Cowboys of all teams, Steve Hoffman was their special teams coach, and he called me from at college, said, hey, listen, we're not going to draft a kicker, but we're going to sign you, we want you to be on our team, you know, whatever. Draft day comes and goes. A couple days after, crickets, nothing. So anyway, I meet a kicking coach in Virginia. I go and I'm gonna spend this year working out, trying to fine-tune my skills, all that stuff. So I moved down there and pack up my truck, everything I own in that thing. I had a little bit of money left over, but not a lot. Moved down there last month, getting some food for the refrigerator. I remember looking at my checking account and going, I got like $17 and that's all I got. Now, my parents would help me if I would have asked. Didn't want to ask if I didn't have to, right? And I remember that it was, at one point, I remember the struggle was real. But when I realized I got a job, I started working, and I realized at that point, like, hey, I can make this work. I'm good. I don't need anybody's help. Don't get me wrong, get help. But when I realized that I was capable of surviving. It was a good feeling because it was the first time really being on your own after college. Like, this struggle's real. Running down Herschel Walker on a kickoff, that was pretty amazing. You know, how the hell that happened? God,
What year was that?
My rookie year, 96.
Wow.
Kicked off, catches it at the goal line, breaks through the line, and gone. I'm in the middle of the field, and I really didn't have an angle at all, but I turned and it just started running. And to my surprise, every 10 yards I'd gain a foot. Every 10 yards I'd gain another foot. And finally got to the point where about our 25, 30 yard line, whatever it was, I close enough and I dive and I tackle him right on the sideline. He rolls and throws the ball down and turns around and looks, and I guarantee he didn't expect to see number 4, a kicker with a turf shoe on and 1 foot and a normal shoe. And he's like, no way did this guy just tackle me, right? It was funny because Parcells was our head coach at the time. And I remember he came up to me and he goes, hey, it's one of the best plays I've ever seen in my career. He said, the guys will treat you differently now. And I didn't know what that meant. Like, he's not just a kicker, he's a football player. Like, man, I care as much as anybody else does on this team. I'm not gonna let this get to the end zone kind of thing. And,
Yeah.
But it's pretty crazy. I've always said, you know, the wins in football bring you a certain amount of joy, but the losses or the bad plays or the missed kicks that cause us to lose gives me a lot more negative anguish. Like, the losses piss me off more than the wins make me happy. I don't know if that was the way it was initially, but that's the way it is toward the end of my career. And so maybe that holds something to it too. Don't get me wrong. One of the greatest moments in my life, besides the birth of my children, was I'm in that first Super Bowl watching that ball go through the uprights, and we win, and I'm like, oh my God, this is, my whole professional career.
The whole world just saw that.
Well, and everything I've done in my life to this moment is for that moment. And when it sailed through the uprights, I'm like, oh my gosh, so, I mean, there's been some fun moments, and I guess that shows a very happy, content life, because I don't know if I'd want to change a whole lot, to be honest with you. Love my wife, my kids are fantastic. My career's been great. The people that go, I wish I would have done this differently, well, they've got regrets. I don't really have a lot of regrets, to be honest with you. Been part of 6 Super Bowl teams, 4 wins and 2 losses, and lots of points and lots of records and all that stuff, and I don't have any regrets. It feels most of the time you don't get to play that long. You don't get to pick your time when you're done and gone. So for me now, it's pretty good. I'm very content.